Here to break down all of the day's news is CBS News political director Steve Chaggaris and Politico New York senior reporter Azi Paybarah. Gentlemen, welcome to you both. Steve, let me begin with you. Attorney General Sessions was reportedly in hot water at one point with President Trump. Do you think that his testimony on Tuesday could help his standing in the White House?
Well, do we ever really truly know what's going on in the president's head?
Good point.
I'm not sure we can answer that question, but I have to say, let's look at what Sessions did today. If the goal was to keep the president out of hot water, he did that by, you can say, at least people critical of Sessions, by stonewalling. If part of it was to sort of boost PR and to help Sessions get his side of the story out and do it in a I guess potentially theatrical way, but really sort of aggressive way, he did that as well. He was out there, said that you know, he thought that it was a detestable lie, that there was this idea that he colluded with Russia. He defended himself against, quote, scurrilous and false allegations, and so he was out there with some pretty aggressive quotes that have been played over and over again since the hearing ended. So I would think from a purely theatrical standpoint, the president would probably be happy with that.
Well, so Sessions has recused himself from the Russia investigations, and here's what he said about Special Counsel Bob Mueller on Tuesday.
Have you had any interactions with the Special Counsel Robert Mueller since his appointment?
I have not.
All right, so Azi, Sessions may not have met with him, but the president did to interview him for the job of FBI director. Does that complicate things for Bob Mueller at all, you think?
It does. Donald Trump has had a history of bringing people close to him and using them for his own purposes. Remember, he had that dinner with Mitt Romney, who was very critical of him during the campaign, a very awkward photograph that he put on social media, and then he ditched Mitt Romney. You know, Governor Chris Christie of New Jersey has gone through something very similar to this. Rudy Giuliani, who has defended Donald Trump, did not get the job that he sought. So Donald Trump has a history of bringing people in for his purposes. And remember, a lot of these people who want to serve in government do so irrespective of who the president is. Some people have a really deep-seated belief that you serve the office, that you serve the country. And when you're asked by whoever is in that position, you sort of have you sort of give the respect to the office by at least entertaining the idea. And people that go through those motions end up becoming part of what Trump puts on display for people, which is, look at everyone auditioning for me. This is an extension in some ways of The Apprentice. And now with Trump not saying whether or not he would fire Mueller and other people around Trump sort of not even answering the question or putting it to bed, it keeps alive the speculation that maybe there's something that Mueller is doing that is questionable. And it sort of sows the seed of doubt without Trump having to really get his hands dirty in something that complicated.
At the same time, though, Steve, one could also argue that, in fact, if the president felt comfortable enough with Bob Mueller and his background and his work history to bring him in for that interview for the FBI director job, then how is it that his character can be impugned by others? I mean, it's sort of an argument against what the critics of Bob Mueller would be saying.
Yeah, I mean, but he also didn't choose Bob Mueller as FBI director, right? So we don't, again, this is another moment where we don't know exactly what was going on in the president's head. We don't know, I mean, he was parading dozens of people in for interviews for that position. We don't know what the result of that interview was. He didn't choose him as special counsel. It was the Justice Department that did that. So again, we don't know, it doesn't all add up. And so I don't think we can just assume because he brought him in to talk to him about the FBI director position that all of a sudden he automatically is going to sign off on him as special counsel. Well,
let's go back to Jeff Sessions. Was there anything, Steve, in Jeff Sessions' testimony that you saw as potentially damaging to former FBI Director James Comey?
I don't know if I'd call it anything damaging, but there definitely was one moment that was interesting where there was a big disagreement between Comey and Sessions, and it was in reference to the story that Comey told about when he met with the president and the president told him that he should let go of the investigation into Michael Flynn. And Comey then said during the hearing last week that he told Sessions, hey, you know what, I feel he said, I implored Sessions to not leave me alone with the president in the future, but then Sessions didn't respond to that sort of imploring, right? Sessions said, well, wait a minute, he didn't recall this, but I actually responded to him by saying that he needed to be careful to follow department policy about appropriate contacts with the White House. And so there's a disagreement there that I think if Comey is ever trotted in front of a committee again, he'll probably be asked about that disagreement between he and Sessions on that front.
So, Azi, while all of this was happening, President Trump was in Wisconsin and reportedly told Republican senators that the House health care bill was, quote, mean. We don't know what parts of the bill he was referring to specifically, but how do you think this is going to play out as the Senate moves forward and tries to pass its own bill?
Oh, if you're Paul Ryan, you're probably pulling your hair out, not for the first time.
Right.
And if you're one of these senators who is up for re-election and looking at a constituency that is very nervous about losing health care coverage, you're probably even more frustrated at Donald Trump than you usually are. And that's a pretty high bar to meet. And it's also just like very curious because Donald Trump had this very large public event where he celebrated the passage.
At the White House.
At the White House. There's, pictures and videos of it. And what's also sort of amazing about this, and it's been noted on social media already, this is a leak that didn't come from Democrats, that didn't come from the quote-unquote deep state, that didn't come from, operatives who are out to get the president in some way. This came from the president talking to members of his own party about a bill that he had celebrated. Their jaws must have been on the ground when they hear Trump say that it is, quote, mean, and that they have to be, quote, more generous. I mean, he is throwing curveball and a monkey wrench and every other mixed metaphor into what Republicans thought they had to do in order to get this bill passed.
Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, and think about this, okay? Remember what the big hang-up was in the House? It was about spending, how much this was going to cost. You had conservatives and moderates sort of butting heads on this. So now he's going to go over to the Senate and say, we need to spend more. How's that going to placate conservatives on the Senate side as they try to put this thing together? And then to the point of, again, he called this a well-crafted bill during that celebration at the White House, celebrating a bill that just passed the House, not a bill that passed Congress that he was signing, but a bill that just passed the House. This is something that he spent time in the Rose Garden calling well-crafted. Well, apparently it's not well-crafted anymore. That's got a lot of people, a lot of Republicans on the Hill scratching their heads.
All right, Steve Chaggaris and Azi Paybarah. Gentlemen, thank you both. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.